The congressional vote: will the full Jeffrey Epstein files finally be released? Disclaimer: this video is for informational purposes only and is based solely on the reporting of a published news article and public congressional records. We strictly adhere to all platform policies, avoid graphic details, and maintain a calm, neutral, and factual tone. This week, the United States Congress delivered a unified message regarding the federal investigation into convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a dramatic, near-unanimous legislative move, both the House and the Senate passed a bill compelling the Department of Justice, DOJ, to release all files related to the case. This vote marks a significant turning point, especially considering the long-standing political obstacles. The legislation, which directs the DOJ to make these files public, now heads to the president's desk. President Trump has stated he will sign the bill, completing an official reversal of his previous efforts to halt the measure. The congressional action reflects a mounting public and political demand for maximum transparency in a case that has involved powerful and well-connected individuals across various sectors. The legislative maneuver. The House of Representatives approved the bill with an overwhelming 427-1 vote. This decisive tally demonstrated a rare instance of near-total legislative consensus. The single dissenting vote came from Representative Clay Higgins, a Republican from Louisiana. This vote was not a simple matter of scheduling. It followed a months-long struggle during which the legislation faced strong opposition from the Republican leadership and the White House. To bypass this opposition, a small, bipartisan coalition of lawmakers was forced to utilize a specific, powerful, and rarely successful House procedure known as a discharge petition. The Discharge Petition. The Discharge Petition is a procedural tool in the House of Representatives that allows members to bring a bill out of a committee and directly to the floor for a full vote, circumventing the normal legislative process and the control of the Speaker. Requirement: to be successful, the petition requires the signatures of a majority of the House, which is 218 members. The process: after a bill has been stuck in committee for at least 30 legislative days, any member can file the petition. Once the 218 signatures are gathered, the motion is eligible for floor consideration. In this case, the coalition succeeded, securing the necessary signatures. The final signature was provided by Representative Adelita Grijalva, a Democrat from Arizona, immediately after she was sworn in, pushing the tally to the required 218 signature threshold. This success signaled to the President and House leadership that the bill's passage was inevitable, leading to a shift in their public position from opposition to support. Key facts and political fallout. The near-unanimous House vote and the subsequent unanimous agreement in the Senate, secured by Senator Chuck Schumer, effectively dared any lawmaker to go on record against the transparency measure. This maneuver quickly cleared the bill for the president. However, the political drama leading up to the vote exposed significant internal conflicts. Leadership opposition. House Speaker Mike Johnson had been publicly opposed to the discharge petition effort for months. He cited concerns that the bill did not adequately protect the privacy of victims and alleged that the measure was unnecessary due to a concurrent investigation being conducted by a House committee. The reversal. Speaker Johnson ultimately acknowledged the overwhelming political pressure, stating that he had no choice but to support the measure to avoid the political blowback of voting against transparency. He publicly stated, "None of us want to go on record and in any way be accused of not being for maximum transparency." White House pressure. The article reports that the president actively tried to derail the bill, personally calling the Republican holdouts and having White House officials issue warnings. This pressure campaign, however, allegedly backfired, causing the key Republican defectors to dig in more and support the vote. Republican leaders, despite voting for the bill, were quick to dismiss the measure as a political show vote driven by Democrats hoping to inflict political damage on the president. Reactions and victim voices. The movement to release the files was strongly amplified by the voices of the survivors of the convicted sex offender. Survivor skepticism. At a news conference outside the Capitol, some survivors directed their remarks toward the president. Haley Robson, who publicly spoke about her experiences, expressed appreciation for the president's pledge to sign the bill but admitted to being skeptical of the agenda behind the sudden change of position. Patriotism versus politics. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the key Republicans who defied the president's initial push to block the bill, was vocal in her defense of the transparency effort. She defended herself against the president's alleged charge that she was a traitor for backing the bill, saying a patriot is an American that serves the United States of America, and Americans like the women standing behind me. Populist resonance. Representative Greene argued that the Epstein case resonated deeply with the general public because the women involved aren't rich, powerful elites. These are your average Americans. She claimed the files represented the failures of the government and Congress to its citizens, stating, "This is why they don't trust Congress. This is why they don't trust the government." The call for immediate action. Democrats, such as Representative Jim McGovern, highlighted the fact that the president possesses the executive authority to order the Justice Department to release the files without a vote in Congress, accusing Republican leaders of attempting to hide behind procedure to block the vote for months. Conversely, some Republicans, like Representative Troy Nehls, made it clear they were simply following the president's final call to action, dismissing the controversy as a hoax by Democrats while conceding that they were now supporting the measure because Trump said just release the damn files. Conclusion: the real test of transparency. The congressional vote has capped months of high-level political resistance, but it does not guarantee the full release of all files. The real test of transparency now shifts entirely to the executive branch. The bill, once signed, would require the DOJ to release the records. However, this mandate is subject to certain legal limitations, such as the ability to redact or withhold identifiable information of victims. Information that could jeopardize an active federal investigation. Proponents of the measure, including Representative Greene, raised the central, final question: the real test will be, will the Department of Justice release the files, or will it all remain tied up in investigations? The Justice Department has, so far, declined to comment on the pending legislation. The public now awaits the president's signature and the subsequent response from the Department of Justice to determine the ultimate impact of this rare, near-unanimous congressional demand for accountability and transparency in the Jeffrey Epstein case. We will continue to track the developments of this process as the bill becomes law and the Department of Justice determines the scope and timing of the official release. Do you have any questions about the specific legal scope of the Department of Justice files, or would you like to know more about the history of the discharge petition?